International Criminal Court has sentenced former DRC rebel chief Bosco Ntaganda to 30 years in prison. He was convicted earlier this year for war crimes, sexual slavery and using child soldiers. Now Ntaganda, also known as the Terminator, is the first person to be convicted for sexual slavery by the ICC. It's reported that his sentence was the highest ever penalty handed down. For more on this and reaction, I'm joined from our Durban studios by Batini Zazagebashe from the African Diaspora Union. Thank you so much for joining me, Batini. Now, in handing down this judgment, the judge said to the defendant that while there were no real mitigating circumstances in the case, he said the crimes, despite their gravity and his degree of culpability, did not merit a life sentence. How does the African Diaspora Union react to that sentence handed down?
Thank you so much for this opportunity. For the diaspora community, this was somewhat of a missed victory. It was not a full victory for us because, honestly, how does raping and murdering children and women not be a fully mitigational reason for a life sentence? This was a leader that led by example. It was just not him, but everybody under his instruction was doing the same. How many women and children were affected by this?
Now, the life of Bosco Ntaganda makes for interesting reading, as it were. He was born in Rwanda. It was part of the war there as well. And then along with a number of his soldiers, as it were, made his way and infiltrated what he was a part of in the DRC. What are you hearing from people in both the DRC and Rwanda about this sentence?
No, I'll tell you right now that diaspora community is not really happy. Yes, it was a success that somebody was convicted for these crimes, but the sentencing was not enough. Now look at it this way. He's already appealing against this sentence. It could be cut into half. He could serve half of the sentence and be paroled. That is not victory enough. This very same person will be taken back to the communities. The mere fact that he is not pleading guilty and fully taking the sentence means that he doesn't see himself as guilty. Now, is this a person that is willing to go back to communities and society and be remorseful for his actions?
Of course,
how safe are we against...
Of course, a big talking point, apologies for interrupting you there, Batini, is also now, in as much as he's appealing the sentence, there's also the question of reparations and how much compensation the ICC should award to its survivors, who obviously kept a very close eye, because many of them would have put their lives at risk to come forward and testify against this case.
I can tell you right now that many of them had actually come to testify because from the goodness of their heart, because they want justice to be served. But with things the way that things are, now we are looking at how much really is the ICC willing to go and compensate them so that they are protected, because the honest truth is these criminals only serve 2 minutes in prisons and then they come back to take revenge on whoever that has assisted the system in putting them there. Now that is the question that we are pushing for the ICC to respond to. How much are they going to compensate these the people that came forward, the witnesses, and how much protection are they going to give them? Because now they will really need to be protected against these rebels, if I could put it that way.
Now, I was in conversation earlier this year with Navi Pillay, who obviously is world-renowned for being the former High Commissioner for the Human Rights Commission at the UN. But as a big part of that, she was also on that Rwandan tribunal, and she was the person that helped put forward the need for rape to be recognized as an act of war. Now, in this case, we finally have the first person to be convicted for sexual slavery by the ICC. That, in a certain way, though, must be seen as a step in the right direction for those who are still using rape and sexual assault as an act of war.
As I've said, this is half victory. It's part victory for us. We are very happy that now the International Criminal Court has taken a step into actually convicting somebody. Now, for any other perpetrator, they would now know that now this is now recognized as a sexual offense, and so as a crime of war, and it does carry a sentencing. But now, however, the sentence that was handed down, remember, the ICC can hand down maximum of 32 life. They could have moved to life. It would give much more volume to the entire world that, look, this is what we do, and it carries a maximum sentence.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us. That's Patini Zaza Gebashe joining us from our Durban studio, and she's the chairperson of the Africa Diaspora Union.